Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in the state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money and the power, never be fake. Stick to code, sign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same empire back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. BBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr Boyce TV.
Today, I have a chance, a great opportunity to speak with one of the great real estate minds of our day, Mr. Julian Gordon. How you doing, man?
Going on, y'all? How you doing? I'm glad to be here, Doc.
Yeah, doing great, man. Good to see you. Good to see you. And Julian is the founder of the Freedom School, and also he's on the faculty at the Black Business School. And he also teaches real estate in the blackreigroup.com, theblackreigroup.com. And so, Julian, I want to ask you this question, man. You and I talked about it for a second, and so I'm asking it again just so everybody knows. Now, you didn't get a chance to see that documentary last night by chance, right? Have you heard much about it?
No, I didn't see it, man. I didn't see it. I don't jump like Jordan, so that's not my business model.
Yeah, well, everybody in the chat, give me a yes or no if you watched The Last Dance, the Michael Jordan thing last night on ESPN. Shanita Elhaj, Artevis is from Artrevis is from Alabama. Omega J. How many of you watched The Last Dance last night, the Michael Jordan documentary? It was really, really interesting, and I thought it was a great discussion about, just not just sports, but really life and black men and wealth and everything else. Okay, Shanita says she did not watch it. Steph says missed it. Okay, some of you may have missed it. I recommend it. I think you guys would like it. And so let me just lay the framework out here, Julian, so you can kind of know why I brought this up. Because everybody's been talking about it. It's kind of been a thing all day long. One of the things that came up a lot was just, the power struggle between, the black athletes and the owners who are mostly white and Jewish, particularly the Chicago Bulls. Jerry Reinsdorf, who's the owner of the Bulls, and I believe Jerry Krause also are from the Jewish community, and also Jerry Reinsdorf, he didn't always agree with everything that Jordan wanted to do, and there would be times where Jordan would want to go one way, but Reinsdorf would say, nope, you got to go back that way.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a fascinating dynamic, particularly when you look at the black community and you see so many of us who hold Michael Jordan up almost like a god, like this is the epitome of what a black man can be.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting and I was thinking, okay, let's be careful about this characterization of a black man as sort of reaching the pinnacle when he has this white guy telling him what to do.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts about that in terms of just we start just kind of broad and overarching? What's the first thing that kind of comes to mind, like when you see that constant power dynamic between, say, the black man and the black family and these guys that own the sports teams and own, the landlord and the boss and things like that?
Yeah, so I mean, this goes all the way back to the NFL and Kaepernick and the story that he exposed with his life. Like here we have these people who are getting paid millions and millions of dollars by other people who are making millions and millions of dollars times X from their performance. And in many cases, like in Kaepernick's case, you don't even have freedom of speech. And so it's really like, what is freedom? What is freedom? And so I'm always interested in how to get to maximum freedom, where I have financial freedom, where I have time freedom, and where I have mental freedom, meaning and the freedom of speech, being able to speak my truth. And obviously, you've been able to create this huge platform because you position yourself and you left an institution in Syracuse, where you didn't have freedom of speech. And that actually was because you weren't walking in line, because you didn't want to be the house Negro, you stepped away from that institution and you built one that's bigger than theirs in terms of number of students that you serve on a daily basis. And so while sometimes we are going in, if we're going to go and use somebody else's platform, then let's go in and be the spook that's sat by the door, right? Let's go get the strategies. Let's go get the knowledge. Let's go get the information. But then let's use that and go build whatever it is that we can on our own, rather than continuing to rely on their crumbs when they're crumbs from the American pie, right? They're eating the American pie and we are settling for crumbs. even if you're on Wall Street, right? And let's say you are a person of African descent on Wall Street, and let's say you did make $250 as your salary from being on Wall Street. That's great, but you just made your oppressor $5 million. So you made $250. Your oppressor made $5 million off of your work. How is it that we're ever going to win the battle or catch up if we're trying to even run that race? How are we ever going to do that when our talents are being used to build somebody else's empire? So that's how I think about it. Whether it's athletes, whether it's a banker on Wall Street, wherever it is, we have to at some point be able to create our own. And the way Jordan was able to negotiate the Jumpman deal and be able to get more equity in that relationship with Nike was powerful. But for the most part, Jordan and maybe LeBron are the two people who players who have as much wealth as some of the NBA owners. But besides that, most cats have not been able to accomplish that.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and say this. I think that overall, we could talk about the unique examples of individuals that have gone on to play sports and make a lot of money, but overall, sports has been a terrible investment of Black human capital. I mean, a terrible investment. There's no investment you could show me anywhere where somebody says you got a 1 in 10,000 chance of making even a penny, and that's a smart investment. That's not a smart investment. That's a lottery ticket.
Right.
So the only difference is lottery tickets are actually smarter, because with a lottery ticket, you can buy that for $1. Trying to make it to the NBA requires you to put in 10,000 hours of work on the court, hoping that you'll get one of those 10,000 shots. And I don't know how many people out here would if somebody said, I got a lottery ticket that I can sell you, but I'm going to also take 10,000 hours of your life. I want you to dedicate your life for the next 10, 15 years to earning the chance to own this lottery ticket. And I want you to leverage your entire life on the value that you think you're going to get from this ticket. How many of you, give me a yes or no in the chat, how many of you would take that bet? How many of you would take that deal? What do you think about that, Julian, when I describe it that way?
Right. So I 100% agree with you. Because we came here as physical capital, then that is how we continue to be perceived in the American narrative. We are still seen as physical capital, and our physical prowess is more powerful than any other race of people on the face of this earth. But at the end of the day, there are so many other avenues that one could pursue and use their mind as opposed to their body in order to create wealth. You can only create so much wealth with your body. There's only so much wealth you can create with your body, because the body is something that deteriorates, just like time is something that deteriorates, right? But when you start looking at wealth and you're looking at opportunities with your mind, you have infinite expansion and possibility options there. And I just believe that that's a better investment. Now, the problem is that we've assumed that mental investment means higher education, right? And I call that liberal arts education. And liberal arts education is leading students into bondage. We as people of African descent who have gone on to college, that is actually what's crippling some of our brightest minds is student debt. Right. And so what we need to be pursuing is not liberal arts education. We need to be pursuing liberation arts. And there's an entire new curriculum that is in the Black Business School that you can actually pursue to actually liberate yourself. Liberation arts curriculum is going to get you free. And so in chat, just let me know if you were to need to know things to be free. Okay. I'm not talking about a college degree. If we're talking about your degrees of freedom in chat, what are some things you would need to know to learn how to be free, to liberate yourself? That is the curriculum that we need to be pursuing. And so what are people saying?
What are people saying?
In chat.
Oh, in the chat. Oh, no, I was reading. I actually, you know what I was reading when you were talking? When you're talking about, what it really means to actually have that human capital or that ability to get a return on your investment. And you're right. I mean, I think that leaning on your body, that's a perishable good, right? Eventually you run out of the ability to make money from your body. That's kind of what I feel happened a lot to guys like Allen Iverson or Antoine Walker and others. They were making a lot of money when they could make money. And then when their asset reduced or dropped in value, they couldn't make that money anymore. And whereas LeBron is very smart, right? He's making a lot of money from his body, but then he's transferring that wealth into other assets that that aren't gonna get bad knees when they hit the age of 40.
Right. And ain't getting bad knees.
Right. And one of the things I've been researching is, I'm gonna tell you what really fascinates me. I knew a black guy who was a cop, and he was old school. He was a good cop, good guy. And I said, what made you want to be a cop? He said, when I grew up, I thought my daddy was the most powerful man I'd ever seen. I thought my daddy was the greatest man ever, like a walking god or something. He said, then it was like the 1950s. He said, I saw this police officer telling my father what to do. And he said, I was stunned. He said, I couldn't believe that I watched this other man telling my father what to do. He said, so I became obsessed with having that power. Like the power of being a police officer, right? Now we know that being a cop has taken on different meanings now because of things like police brutality, which is very unfortunate. But
Right.
but in a way, I think the same way about, when I watched that Michael Jordan documentary. Here we have Michael Jordan, listed as, just in many of our minds, he is a walking god as far as basketball players go and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Most extraordinary thing we've ever seen. But again, he was being told what to do by these short little fat white guys. And I think that one way to kind of look at all that dynamic is to say, okay, yeah, we know what the power of Jordan is. Okay, if you're lucky enough, remember Jordan and Pippen both lucked out. They got very lucky. This was a gift given by God, where both of them had 6-7 inch growth spurts that their other family members did not have. Michael Jordan's brother Larry, who was a better player than him, never grew to be taller than 5'10". But then Michael just suddenly grew to 6'7", and that's why he became great. Scottie Pippen, when he went and he was an equipment manager at Central Arkansas, he wasn't even good enough to make the team at Central Arkansas, but then he had a growth spurt and he became the star of the team. So these guys had to be in the top 1% of the top 1% to get that chance to even be in that space.
Yeah.
But those two, short, fat white guys, Jerry Reinsdorf and Jerry Krause, who were telling them what to do, they didn't win any lottery. They couldn't dribble basketball to save their life. Right. And so I think that studying their backgrounds is an interesting exercise as well. So when you study Reinsdorf's life, you'll see that, first of all, I don't think he grew up rich. First of all, I know a big myth about wealth is though they were all born with it, somebody gave it to them. There's a lot of people out here who, like you have you control what, $3 million worth of property.
Yeah.
Were you born filthy rich?
No, I wasn't. Not at all. I was born middle class. I had a I guess they would call it a silver spoon. I did come into privilege, but it was upper middle class privilege. And, when I think about my parents and their work, one of my parents ended up dealing with addiction, and it threw their career off and really diminished their wealth to almost nothing. My father is in a good space, but what I learned from both my parents, even though they had good paying jobs at organizations that other people own, is that just making a lot of money or good money it wasn't enough. So my parents, let's just say my dad, for example, would be able to leave, or middle class in general, they'll be able to leave their children a pile of cash and maybe an asset like a home that's paid off in full. What I'm trying to do, and taking it a step further, using the baton that I was handed, I'm trying to leave my daughter cash flow. Okay, there's a difference between leaving somebody a pile of cash and leaving them cash flow that is going to be in their life forever. And so I think if anybody here was born into the middle class, it's not just about inheriting what your parents leave as an asset, but it's about taking it further and saying, how do I leave assets, like high yielding assets? And by high yielding, I want you all to know that cash is the lowest yielding asset in the entire world. Your cash in your bank account is only yielding 0.03% in your savings account. At 0.03% in Bank of America, you take 72 divided by 0.03, that's the rule of 72. It'll take you 2,400 years to double your money sitting in a bank account. Okay, so if you were able to invest in an asset like real estate, which Reinsdorf was able to invest in, which Dan Gilbert, owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers, they invest in real estate. The Atlanta Hawks owners invest in real estate, and I'm sure we can go. Jerry Jones, we know, definitely invest in real estate. We would know that just on a basic multifamily deal, worst case scenario, you have a 12% cash on cash return. You take 72 divided by 12, and guess what? That's doubling your money every 6 years as opposed to every 2,400 years, right? So this is how I think about money. This is how I think about generational wealth. And with each generation, whatever you were born into, if you were born in a poverty, then your next level might be to leave your children an inheritance of cash, maybe no high yielding assets. But then we're trying to we know that, Doc, you and I know that other cultures, they look in 100-year plans. So they're looking 100 years out. They're already thinking about 2120, not just 2021, right? So this is how we have to start to think if we want to be able to build long-term wealth as a community.
Well, by the way, everybody, I'm speaking with Julian Gordon. Julian Gordon is a real estate expert. And also, if you want to learn from Julian, learn real estate, you can go to theblackreigroup.com, THE, that's theblackreigroup.com. Hit the thumbs up button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button. Everybody right now, please, if you're watching anywhere, hit the thumbs up button and make sure you subscribe to the channel. Let's talk a little bit about that. You touched on Jerry Reinsdorf, the owner of the Bulls. That was the little short guy who couldn't dribble basketballs, who told Michael Jordan what to do. In fact, Reinsdorf probably made 10 times more off Michael Jordan than Michael Jordan himself, at least as a player. After his playing days, it was different, but as a player, for sure. If you look at Reinsdorf's background, real estate was a critical element to his wealth building ability. The first thing was, he became a CPA, and that, which is a good living for a lot of people. A lot of our folks, go to school and they become CPAs, and they're proud because they make $100,000 a year, $80,000, whatever it is. And then he also went to law school. We have a lot of black lawyers out here as well. Mm-hmm. But what's fascinating is, when you read about the real estate deals he started making, he started owning property in Chicago, and he understood a basic idea of real estate, that real estate is one of the keys to wealth, that a lot of millionaires and billionaires are created through real estate. That's how the Trumps became a wealthy family. They were not wealthy 2 generations ago, just like a lot of your families you guys watching right now. A lot of your families are not wealthy now, but they'll be wealthy in a generation or two because of moves that you're making right now, right? And so with Reinsdorf, it seemed like he did a lot of flipping, which is a big thing in property, right? He did it with real estate, but then actually people don't know this. He flipped the Chicago Bulls. Check this out, Julian.
Yeah.
Do you know how much the Bulls are worth right now?
Maybe 3.5.
$3.2 billion, right? Guess how much he put together a syndicate to buy the Bulls in 1985. Guess how much they paid?
Probably like 500.
$16 million.
$16 million. Okay. Wow.
16 million. I almost exploded. He bought the Bulls. It says right here, he says he purchased the Bulls as part of a syndicate for $16 million. And quickly turned the team from one that averaged 6,000 fans a game to 17,000 fans a game in 1985 to one with 8,000 person season ticket waiting list. He also drafted Scottie Pippen and Horace Grant and Michael. I think Jordan was already there. So he literally bought this asset. The same way you buy real estate, all the stuff, and he turned this $16 million asset into a $3.2 billion entity. And I think that really kind of explains a big chunk of the game. It seems like a big part of the wealth game is not so much about running further down the road than other people. It's about hitching yourself to the right economic vehicle that carries you down the road at 100 miles an hour. That's what he just bought it, and then the asset ballooned in value. Next thing you know, he's a billionaire. Can you kind of speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, so I just want to make things clear for folks. Again, Jordan is the exception, okay? Jordan is the exception, right? So Reinsdorf is currently worth $1.6 billion, okay? That's Reinsdorf. That's owner of the Chicago Bulls. Jordan is at 2.1. So Jordan is 500 million up on his former owner. Now this is the get free Negro story that we all try to be, right? We all try to get free and actually have a leg up on our owner at some point in time, right? On our former owner, okay? So Jordan is 2.1, Reinsdorf is 1.5 or 1.6. Yeah, but hear this. Do you know how much LeBron is worth right now?
What about 400 million? At least
at 480 million. 480 million, okay? Guess how much Dan Gilbert, his former owner at the Cavs, is worth? $7 billion.
$7 billion? I was gonna guess $2 billion, but
$7 billion. I mean, Quicken made some bread. You know what I'm saying? So, just to put that in context, so Jordan has surpassed his former owner. LeBron is not even close. LeBron has less than 10% of his former owner. And LeBron is at the top of the game, not only as a player, but in terms of wealth creation. So we just have to put things in perspective. And while we celebrate LeBron, I'm so happy for what he's been able to create, how he's been able to grow his money that he's making from his body, his active income, into more passive streams and other opportunities that can expand, like Blaze Pizza, etc. When we look at his owner did something different. Dan Gilbert made money through Quicken Loans. He's made money through real estate, just like Reinsdorf. So real estate has been an essential piece of probably every sports team's owner's portfolio, and not just sports teams owners, but everybody who is considered wealthy in the United States. Real estate is fundamental to that equation.
Yes, I agree with you, man. Now let's speaking on real estate.
Yeah.
I read an article here. It looks like it's nareb.com. I guess that's a real estate organization, but they actually are citing an article that says that African American home ownership has fallen to a 50-year low.
Yeah.
As of 2016, it was at 41.7%, which is near a 50-year low. And let's see, compared to non-Hispanic whites of 72.2%, 22 percentage points below the national home ownership rate of 63.7%. Can you speak to that in terms of what you're seeing just as a real estate expert and home ownership dropping? I mean, I thought integration in the civil rights movement was supposed to make our lives better. What's going on here?
My ads, Fair Housing Act. Nope. So what's happening with that is one, I always look within first. And when I think about it, culturally, our understanding of property was different than those who came into Africa and stole us. Okay, we didn't perceive property or earth as ours. We perceived it as something that was given to us by our creator, and it was for us to possess and use, but it wasn't ours. So property lines, the way we define it, isn't the same as how other people, our counterparts, perceived it. But now, of course, we're living in their reality, and I think we're still coming to terms with the reality that we don't see land and property in the way that, from a cultural and from a DNA standpoint, we don't see it in the way that other people do. So that's the first thing. But then, of course, there are blockages as a result of credit being a key to that equation. There's blockages in terms of financing. There's blockages in terms of not being able to earn enough wages to get proof of income or have enough cash for down payment. Because when you're buying property, you need three things. You need cash, which is for the down payment. You need cash flow, which is proof of income. And then you need a credit, which is your proven ability to pay back debt. And there are systematic things that are in place, like giving 18-year-olds credit cards. Literally, these credit card companies are literally showing up at people's 18th birthday. Like, here you go. And for us, if we've come from nothing and we've never learned any financial literacy, we've never taken a course in the Black Business School, et cetera, we see that as free money, and we don't realize that those decisions that we make at the age of 18 are actually going to affect our ability to acquire a property at the age of 30. It's going to affect our ability on the interest rate on the car that we think we deserve after graduation. So these things end up affecting us because real estate is the greatest asset that the average American can access with the most leverage. Let's just take a 300,000 duplex, for example. With the FHA loan, you put 3.5% down. That's only $10,500, right? $10,500. And you get to take control. You don't own the asset, you control it. So on HGTV, they'll have you deceive that, congratulations, you're a homeowner. No, you're not. You only own 3.5% of that home, right? The bank owns the other portion of that home. So you're not a homeowner, you're a home buyer. You have control of the property. You have the right to use it until the mortgage is fully paid off 30 years later, right? But literally, you pay $10,500 down, control a $300,000 asset. Doc, tell me this. What other business can you buy for $300,000 right now with only putting $10,500 down by emailing some documents like your tax returns to a lender, getting approved for the other $289,000 in 30 days, and then once you acquire that business, actually have a cash flow in the first 30 days of you owning it, and do that with minimal time, effort, and expertise? What other asset could you buy like that? There is none. There is none. And so that's why this particular asset, a 2-family, 3-family, and 4-family home, this is why I preach as Mr. Multifamily. This is why this is the most critical asset that we need to acquire and have in our last name, because it's also the only asset that you can really live in. You can't live in a stock, okay? You can have stocks, but you can live in it, right? Real estate, when bought right, when you buy multifamily real estate the right way, you can actually live in it and it still pay you, plus all the tax deductions that you're going to get from it, plus the potential appreciation, plus the principal pay down by the tenants. And so that's why I'm so bullish always on this particular asset, because real estate is the most proven business model of all time. It's the #1 subscription business beyond Amazon Prime, beyond Netflix. It is the #1 subscription-based business. If you remember the feudal system from junior high school or whatnot, feudal system was in 900 AD in Europe. And in the feudal system, kings gave land to lords in exchange for loyalty. So where do you think the word landlord came from? Kings gave land to lords. So this business model is actually 1,100 years old. I cannot guarantee you that Google will be around 1,100 years from now. I can't guarantee you that Apple will be around 1,100 years from now. But as long as human beings are on the face of this earth, guess what? Multifamily real estate and real estate in general will always be here. And so we know that 66% of Americans' wealth, right, who do actually own property, is tied up in their real estate. So real estate has been a key factor to the average net worth of American families. But because we don't own at the rate that other people do, this is why our net worth is approaching or supposedly on track based on other people's projections and lack of faith in who we are and what we're able to do, that our net worth is supposed to go towards zero. But I know that we will not allow that to happen.
Yeah, well, let's hope not. Let's hope not. Everybody, I'm speaking to Julian Gordon, and we're talking about real estate and the power of real estate and what happens in a recession when you're talking about real estate. How, you know, with a lot of you guys were talking about that Michael Jordan documentary. So I thought it was interesting to tie that into the conversation, because a lot of these NBA owners who are telling the players what to do, trading the players like cattle, they built their wealth through real estate. So, so given that you want to understand the keys to freedom, which are connected to power and control, I say aim for the top of the pile as opposed to aiming to be accepted into the middle of an oppressive pile. You know, I think that for Black people, given that we're, you know, in a unique situation, because we're Black, we have a different set of circumstances to work with. A lot of us are trained to fight for integration into a pre-existing institution, but what are you integrating into? You know, it's like if I'm fighting to get inside a party and I know that inside the party everybody's smoking crack, I don't want to get into that party. You know, now if it's a healthy party, if it's a good place to be, if it's, you know, if it's a wealth builders club, I want to get into that party. But I don't want to get into the party where it's the party is a crack house. So that's kind of what you're doing when you're trying to integrate into institutions that possess all forms of toxic racism. I mean, everybody talks about, you know, these viruses that are out here that are taking people out. Well, the biggest virus in America is institutional racism. You know, white supremacy is the biggest virus, and it's affected everybody, including the Black people, the Black people. A lot of y'all Black folks are infected with white supremacy. Like, y'all really believe, white folks, that they are better than you and that they have the right to control you and take away the very freedom that you claim to be fighting for. You claim to be fighting for freedom, but you're also signing yourself up for slavery, and then mad that they didn't sign you up for slavery. That's why you're so jacked up in the head, because you don't know which way is up. You know, so let me lay this out here, man. I want to throw this out. So what about? Let me ask you this practical question. I've seen some folks ask this question. I'd like to get your take on this.
Yeah.
What if you're a person who says, you know, I see the value of owning real estate, and I'm willing to go take a class and learn how to buy multifamily properties, things like that, but I don't want to be a property manager. I don't want to, you know, I don't want nobody calling me at 3 a.m. because I go through that. Me and Alicia, you know, bought some property, and I was like, I don't want to do anything. I want to own it because I know the importance of it, but I don't want to be the one doing all the work. What would you say to somebody like that?
Yeah. So when you're running the numbers, so when you're buying multifamily real estate, there are 23 numbers that you need to know how to evaluate to effectively evaluate a deal. When you're buying single family real estate, it's how much did I get approved for? I got approved for 500. How much is the home? It's 450. Do I like it? Yes, I'm buying, right? But with multifamily, there's 23 numbers. Now, one of those key numbers is your property management. And so let's say you do decide, maybe you're living in a market that's too expensive, because that's what Black people tend to do. We tend to go to markets where there are jobs, but those markets are also expensive to live in, right? But what if you could go buy in Birmingham, Alabama, where you're from, even though you live in New York? Okay, I want everybody to know that your money does not have to work in the same city as you. I'll repeat that. Your money does not have to work in the same city as you. All right. So what that means is that I was in New York when I bought property in New Orleans and in Oakland. And the key to that is having a great property manager. Now, a property manager who is your eyes and ears on the ground, they'll typically take about 10% of rents. So let's say you are getting $4,000 in rent from your fourplex, $1,000 per unit. The property manager will likely take $400 per month to manage that property, to go collect rents, to deal with any issues, to answer calls at 3 a.m. if there's a plumbing issue or something like that. The property manager will handle that. So it's going to affect your cash flow a little bit, but if you just want to wipe your hands clean and not have to deal with anything, that's what that $400 a month is going to cover, which is going to cut into your cash flow.
Well, and I think that's an important question. I've seen people ask that a lot, and I want people to understand that I know that we are hardworking people. As Black folks, we really, many of us, and I'm not going to speak for everybody because that's stereotyping, but because we are such hard workers, we feel that we have to do everything ourselves. That's why you have the entrepreneurs that start a business and they do every single job in their own company, everything from the secretary to the CEO and everything in between. They're doing all of that. And so teaching folks how to delegate is really important. Even if you got to spend a little money to save some time, your time is more valuable than your money, especially when you're thinking like a boss. Well, I think the same thing is true with real estate, obviously, right? You talk about property managers, and I know in the Black REI group, people learn that. They learn that process of what that means. And even with entrepreneurship, Dr. Claude Anderson always basically reminds people, and Andre Hatchett talks about this as well, that you don't have to be an entrepreneur to be a business owner. Andre says, and I agree with him, that everybody doesn't have to be an entrepreneur, but everybody can and should be a business owner. You can just have a different role where maybe your job is to just, put in some cash and let your money work for you. Or maybe you show up to a board meeting, or maybe you are an evangelist for the company. I have businesses that I own a piece of where I told them, I don't want to do any of the work because this isn't passionate for me. I don't have the time. But I'll go and be an evangelist for the company. I'll help marketing, or I'll help with, or I'll come to some meetings and give you I'll be on the advisory panel, or I'll invest some cash, right? So I encourage people to just understand that there's a lot of ways to skin that cat, and don't you ever let anybody talk you out of the power of ownership. If you don't own nothing in America, if you don't own nothing, then you ain't nothing. And I hate saying like, it doesn't mean I believe that. I believe everybody is somebody. I do believe that the Jesse Jackson, you are somebody. But in America, the way people get treated, if you don't own nothing, then you ain't nothing in the eyes of these folks. So what do you own? Start by owning, you can start by owning some shares of stock. That you do that this afternoon. But then also, owning getting positioned to own real estate. People like Julian can show you that. So Julian, I'll let you get the last word, man. What about all the stuff going on with the virus and the downturn and, how that's affecting the real estate market? I mean, is this even a good time to even try to buy real estate?
It's actually the best time to buy real estate. And I know that sounds counterintuitive, but it's actually the best time to buy real estate. And people who understand the game and understand the market, their lips are literally salivating right now. And here's why. In 2008, 2009, when the real estate market turned, right, when we had our last recession, the average price of a home in the United States was $208,000, okay? $208,000. You know what that same home is worth today? That same home today is worth $324,000. So literally, if you would have bought in the midst of the last recession, when the prices dipped, you would be up 116 racks right now, just for living somewhere, just for having bought while everybody else was in fear. So real estate is about to go on sale. Stock market has already gone on sale, and because the stock market responds a lot quicker than anything else because it's liquid. Real estate owners who didn't buy right, and now have some tenants who aren't paying or having issues, lost their job, etc. They're going to come out of pocket in April for their mortgage payment. Then they're going to come out in May, and they're going to realize I have no more money to pull from to come out for June. And so what do they do? They put their property on the market. I need to liquidate this thing. I need to try to get out of this a 30-year mortgage that I have. And so what's going to happen is there's going to be fewer buyers because the lending guidelines have restricted a little bit. And as a result, it becomes a buyer's market, and the sellers are going to have to reduce their price if they want to get out, or else they're going to risk getting foreclosed on, lose their down payment and all their equity that was in their home. So the real estate is about to go on sale in the next 1 to 3 months. And if you are ready, now is your time to buy real estate. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but this is the actual time. Everybody who is out here who is renting, this is a new rule for our community, okay? Our new rule is you should not be living on your own if you don't own anything. You should not be living on your own if you don't own anything. Auntie lives 3 blocks that way. Your brother lives 5 minutes that way. Everybody's renting. If you would have just pulled your resources together, y'all could have got a multifamily, 3 units, and been owning it and still had your separation. Because I know some of y'all don't want to live with your family members, okay? But if you were just strategic and came together, you could have put your incomes together and actually got a multifamily that you own, as opposed to all 3 of you renting right around the corner from each other. Okay, so this is essential, that there's no more living on your own if you don't own anything. Every other community is willing to house huddle, meaning that they're willing to stack as many people into a house as they possibly can, even if they're miserable there, because everybody knows that this is only temporary. Yeah, we got bunk beds. When I bought my property in Brooklyn, guess who moved next door to me? Asians. Okay, they moved next door to me. It was 8 of them in one unit. It was just me and my family in my unit. It was 8 of them in the same size unit. Guess what? 2 years later, 4 of them had left. Where'd they go? They'd bought another property from down the block, okay? Because they weren't paying rent, right? They were able to stack all that money as a family and then use that after 2 years to go make a down payment on something. So now they're split. And guess what? What's gonna happen again? Now there's 4 in each. Those are gonna split again. And now they're gonna have 4 properties within the next year or so. So this is the game. It's been proven. But for some reason, we think that it's adulthood to be living on your own. No, it is financially childish to be living on your own if you don't own anything. And we have to accept that, right? So that's how I think about it. If you don't own anything, if you're renting, you are homeless. If you are renting, you are homeless. Yeah, you might call it my apartment, but the reality is that you're not on the title and you're not on the deed. Okay, so when this quarantine is over and you want to have a dinner party and invite people over because you want to reconnect with friends, do not put come over to my apartment on the invitation. Put come over to Sally's apartment, come over to Tommy's apartment, because that's where I've been renting for the past 5 years. Go add up all the rent that you've paid since you've been living on your own. Go add it up. The number's going to make you throw up. It's going to make you sick. Okay, you knew that you were supposed to be temporarily renting, but a lot of us get caught up and slip into renter's mentality. I don't care if your apartment's downtown. I don't care if you got a Thai food restaurant over there and a barbecue restaurant right down the street. I don't care about that. Do you own anything? Do you own anything? Nope, then I don't care about your apartment. I don't care about the free coffee in the lobby. None of that really matters. I don't care about your stainless steel appliances. Those cost, a stainless steel fridge costs $800, a stainless steel stove costs $500. Why are we getting so enamored by things that aren't really that important? Go own something, okay? So again, if you were renting, you were homeless. And if you bought a single family, it wasn't your fault. You got caught up in the American dream. The single family home is not an asset. It is not an asset. At the very best, it is a savings account, okay? But over the course of a 30-year mortgage on a single family home, you are going to pay for basically your home and your banker's home, okay? With all the interest that you're going to pay. So, and at a point, and at no point does a single family home pay you unless you're renting out rooms or you sell it. Okay, and some of you are like, oh, but my mortgage is paid off. Well, guess what? Even if your mortgage is paid off, now what do you have after a 30-year-old home? You have maintenance. And not only do you have maintenance, you still have property taxes and insurance. So we were sold this lie that a single-family home is the American dream, and it's not. The American dream is to be able to have real estate and have cash flowing assets that cover your cost of living. That is the moment you achieve financial freedom. And so if we could deprogram ourselves and actually see what I call the above ground railroad. Harriet Tubman led the Underground Railroad. Above ground railroad is multifamily real estate. It is right there in plain sight in front of your eyes. And if you can see the value of owning multifamily real estate and getting to rent and mortgage freedom, it would change your life forever. How do I know? Because it changed my life forever. I bought my first property in Brooklyn in 2013. Since that moment, I have never paid a housing expense. Imagine what would change in your life if you didn't pay a housing expense for the past 6 years. And I will never, ever pay a housing expense again. And because I bought that first property right, guess what? That first property put me in position to get the second and the third and the fourth and the fifth. And now I have 10 properties, 30 doors that pay me way more than I even need from a cost perspective, because I'm a simple dude. I don't live crazy, but my rental properties alone have gotten me to financial freedom. And that's not even my core business. That's something I do on the side. That's not even my core business. All right. So this is what I wanted to say. This is how I wanted to end. Now is your time. Now is your time. Real estate is about to go on sale and you need to get ready. Some of you don't think you can afford real estate. Go get pre-qualified or pre-approved. You don't even know. You don't even know how much the bank will lend you. I was talking to one of my students the other day. I said, how much did you think the bank was going to approve you for based on your credit and your cash and your cash flow? He said, maybe 350. Guess what? Guess how much the bank approved him for? 500. So we have these perceptions that we can't afford real estate. The reality is you don't know unless you've gone to 3 banks and got pre-qualified to see how much they would lend you and at what rate.
All right. Well, I hope you guys got something from this conversation. Let me know. Give Julian a digital thank you and a digital round of applause for dropping knowledge. Yeah. This is great, and this is exactly what people need to hear. I mean, you need to hear about the possibilities. And when you talk about that, I mean, not typecast in the Asian community on this, but I mean, when it comes to that like property ownership thing, as a community, they are all over that. When Alicia and I went to go buy a property in Chicago, like we had to really move to be past the people from China that were trying to own all the units in that building. Like we just had a sister in there that was like, get on it now. Like she really kind of let us know what was going on. And it was just fascinating to me that they would buy multiple units in that building. And when one came available, it was gone like that. And so that ownership piece, I just want people to really understand the power of ownership, and that should just be a source of pride in our community. So at the end of your life, just make it a goal, but before you die, own something you can pass to your kids. And I just think that's really important. So if you want to check out Julian's program and where he teaches, there's a massive discount on his Black Real Estate Group program. Go to theblackreigroup.com, THE. That's theblackreigroup.com. If somebody can type that in, Abdul or whoever's in the chat, if you could type in theblackreigroup.com, I'd appreciate that. And you can go and check it out and just see more of what Julian has to say. At least take the time to learn what your next move is going to be. And then maybe when you're ready to make your move, knowledge won't be the reason that you can't make the move. And I think that's important too. A lot of folks get to the point where when they finally have the money that they need to make their move, they don't know what to do. So knowledge is not an expensive commodity. It usually is just going to cost you a little bit of time and maybe a small investment, but nothing like what many of you spent. A lot of you are $80,000 in debt getting a college degree that doesn't teach you any of the things that somebody like Julian can show you. So
yeah, I'll put it to you this way. Would you pay 1 month, the equivalent of 1 month's worth of rent or mortgage for the potential of never having to pay rent or mortgage ever again? I mean, that's the truth of the matter. That is the investment that is on the table. So go to theblackreigroup.com and check it out. I mean, would you take that deal, Doc?
When you put it that way, then I say that's a great deal, man. I love the way you put that. That's a fascinating way to look at it. And you're right. It's always like the little differences. The people that I've noticed, the people that become enormously successful, they're not that much different from people who didn't achieve that success. It's usually like little bitty things, little investments they made, little choices they made that made all the difference. So everybody who's watching, go make the little choices and be successful. We want you to win. So thank you very much, Julian, man. It was great to have you, brother.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
For sure. All right, everybody, have a good day. It's theblackreigroup.com. Everybody on your way out, please hit the thumbs up button, share, notification bell, all that stuff. And we'll be back talking again real soon. So have a good day, everybody. Thanks a lot, Julian. See you soon, brother.
Peace.
All right. Peace.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money and the power, never be fake. Stick to code, sign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same empire back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr Boyce TV.